Okay, still safe, and we're back, everyone. Welcome. We'll start the game. Because it's, for me, I think I found a solution to it. I'll probably break it just because I say that. But because I heard people talk about, like, no, that's not the case. But yeah, my what is it called? It's called not visual console, portal console, whatever the system I'm using to capture the games. Oh shit, I'm forgetting what it's called. Why am I doing that? I'm sorry for... anyone watching this, hearing this, will scream at me because you know what game or how. It's not Elgato. Elgato is to get it into the computer, but the console I'm using... to play actual legit real hardware. Analog Pocket. Analog Pocket is what it's called. It's the console I'm using to actually play real legit FireRed, Leaf Green, and later Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald software. Like, I'm playing, as I said, this is not Switch and virtual console release. It's not an emulator. This is my real FireRed copy that I have owned since 2005 or 6 or whenever it was I got it as a kid. Physical copy, and through that I can send them up through all the generations, unlike an emulator or stuff like that. So, but the thing is that I've seen people say, like, no, that never happens, it must be something else, something broken within your game or stuff like that. But no, I have had my Analog Pocket delete save files off of legit console or legit games. And I think I found out it's something about the sleep mode, rest mode of the Analog Pocket that breaks it. So therefore I have started to be really careful about shutting down the games properly before changing, like pulling it out, changing games, finishing my recording, etc, etc. But I'm still scared that I will like play through the entire game, 30 hours of gameplay, because around 30 hours is like regular playthroughs for me that aren't speedrunning. And then have the recording or the save file be corrupted and removed from the console, and I have to replay everything. And this is because I will have to play through 2 games on the Analog Pocket for this playthrough alone before I am safe from the Analog Pocket. Then we'll move on to DS games. I have a modded DS that can record from an actual DS, which I've never had problems with. So I think it should be fine after that point. Yeah. So that's what was for me in the beginning, because the Analog Pocket was acting up a bit, like not starting like it should be, and I had the console or the cartridge inside it when I started, and that made me be like, oh, will this mess something up? Because this isn't the longest playthrough yet, but it's still like 8 hours worth of videos or something like that that would get lost and need to be replayed, which I much don't really want to do. I could have taken this later, because I want to play other games and I want to do other projects with Pokémon. So I don't want to be replaying the same conversion playthrough all the time. I'm gonna move on. But we're good. So we're heading through. At this point I do forget what route it is. 15, 16 something maybe? Or is it 20 even already? We're heading towards the rock tunnel. That's what we're doing at least. So it will be mainly rando Pokemon battles. And not much happening. I don't think there's any Pokemon on this route. That I wanna catch. Well, technically, by the conversion rules, would have caught as a 10-year-old. So there you can jump down. This is a hiker, or the opposite to picnicker. Camper. It was a hiker up there. So it has quick attack. Why did I use tackle instead of quick attack? Just take this thing out. Defense girl, stop that. You're not using rollout, so it doesn't matter. Because for people that don't know, I learned when I saw Meatball's playthrough. I don't watch Meatball anymore because of his attitude to games generally, but his franchise lock is interesting, and that's one of the ideas I'm looking to edit, because I don't think it should be called a lock, because it's not a Nuzlocke. It only has Nuzlocke-like rules, but it edits those rules too much to be called a Nuzlocke, in my opinion. That similar to how Metronome I'm watching at the moment, my John and Michael and Co, aka PM7 and MNJ TV, play Metronome Nuzlocke, but they are not following the death rule, and therefore I wouldn't call it a Nuzlocke. It's like they have the single catch rule, but it's not a Nuzlocke. Because a Nuzlocke for me will need to follow the two basic rules of Nuzlocke and not completely remove those rules. You can have species clause that alters the rule, and you can have and such. Wedlock alters it slightly, or like even limits you. Oh shit. But you can't just alter the rule and like, I can catch whatever I want as long as I catch one Pokemon per route. Like, then it's not a Nuzlocke, then it's not random anymore in that sense until you have caught things. Same with death rules, like if you don't use permadeath, then it's not a Nuzlocke anymore. There's no Nuzlocke Light or things like that where you count points per death. No. You need to have permadeath. Permafeint / permadeath in a Nuzlocke. No matter what other rules you add on top of it. It's not the random catching that is the main Nuzlocke thing, it's the permadeath that is technically even more important in my opinion. But I would say both to be called a Nuzlocke are important. And therefore you can only alter them slightly, but you can't remove them completely. And as I said, the catching rule is not just limit catches, it is to make the catches ever so slightly random. I guess I dare. I can go back down, I guess. I'm like, should I continue forward or not? Without healing? But this is not a Nuzlocke, so feints would technically not matter, even if they happen due to me not healing. But yeah, I watch in the franchise lock. It's amazing watch, at least for a few. Like, the idea is amazing, but Meeple is very negative in most videos, and it just gets more and more overbearing the longer the playthrough goes on. So I haven't watched it completely. But Defense Curl boosts rollout's power. I never knew that. Because, no, you don't need to jump down because I've already fought the hiker and gotten the item, so it's nothing there. And this patch of grass, there's nothing I want to use from it. So we go down here, we have the picnicker. But yeah, Defense Curl boosts rollout's power. If you have Defense Curl, the rollout will be stronger. So he like uses a Dunsparce in Gen 2 with Defense Curl rollout strategy. But yeah, one of the ideas I have is to play an actual franchise lock with true Nuzlocke's rule, with the randomness of Nuzlocke, but with a franchise lock being as big as it is, it would be like, you would have to like go through and discuss the rules. I feel like it wouldn't be just me deciding the rules, because then I can end up in a Meeple situation where he makes rules where some feel it's cool and some feel it's not true Nuzlocke rules. Because a franchise lock is technically a species lock where you play all the games but are limited to not reusing Pokemon. But then you get to points of reusing starters, if the rival battle counts or not, if the species clause is supposed to have limits or if it's unlimited. I had forgotten it's a Professor 8 here. Yeah, I have 23. Thank you, Everstone. Did not know you got Everstone through this system. I'm not in need of Everstone though, I think. Because I don't think there's any Pokemon. There are a few Pokemon that I want to level up to a certain level before evolving, like we did with Nido, Reno and Nidoking. But at the same time, So was that not a thing that I often did? In... Ooh. No, Diglett is 13, because I have 6 Pokemon on me, but I have Mankey in the daycare, so yeah, it's 13 catches in total up to this point. But yeah, some people that do play with Species Class do not make the Species Class completely broken, so you can catch whatever you want at a certain point. They use limits, like you can encounter 5 or 10 Pokemon of the same species you've already caught before like your chance is up. So it's a discussion about should it be limited or should it be available, because otherwise I feel like if it's available unlimited, it's still a skill playthrough and a knowledge playthrough to use certain Pokemon before time in order to guarantee later catches. Like for example, Dunsparce is extremely rare in Gen 2. In most normal playthroughs you will never encounter a Dunsparce normally for a Nuzlocke, but you don't need to have it meatball style forced encounters or like chosen encounters. You can have what do you call it, a species class encounter, because I think Dunsparce only shares its route with Zubat and Geodude. So if you have used Zubat and Geodude before Dark Cave with Species Class, you can argue that Dunsparce should be your available catch. So, because Dunsparce is such a massively low encounter rate, like 1 or 5% or something like that, I can see some people see it as broken, having Species Class making it available. And then I would also say like how to handle Species Class within the same game, like if you don't catch a certain Pokemon, would that like for example, I don't know, could I catch Pidgey and Rattata in this game and use Species Class with them to get something else on a later route? But then I never use Pidgey or Rattata, I just caught them. So, because it feels personally idiotic if I'm forced to, like, if I catch something and never use it just because I wanted it like a safety net in case Pokemon dies, but I never use that Pokemon. Is it still counted? I feel this might solve itself in the future in such a way, but it becomes like a bit, okay, if I catch Pokemon just to get an encounter on a certain route but never use that Pokemon in any capacity, never level it up, never use it as an HM Pokemon, etc, etc, it's still available for me in a later game. I feel would be among the most fair, but if I catch Pokemon and use them for Species Class, I feel like and that species classed Pokemon is used by me in the game, then it becomes a bit like I should technically count the Pokemon that were used for the species class then, because I can't just have use species class in a sense, because species class is okay, I already have this Pokemon, I already use this Pokemon, so I can use another one, but then I never use them and have them available. Like, it's just messy. So I feel like I would need to do similar to conversion and maybe just play one game per generation, or at least like one game per duo or trio of games, and maybe replay the remakes as well to have some more limit on what Pokemon I use. And then see, like, just to learn the games and learn how to play and stuff like that, and see what's limited and what's not limited, how hard things are, if there are any Pokemon that you can catch to abuse species class with. Oh, come on with the sleep powder. But yeah, it's a thing that I would have to look at. And the same is like, are you allowed, like Pikachu and Eevee that can be used as starters in some games, are you allowed to catch them before the games you use them as a starter? Or should any Pokemon that is a starter, or technically a starter replacement, need to be saved? If possible, like Pidgey and Rattata, do they need to be saved for the later Kanto playthroughs? Because you need a effective starter later on, etc, etc. Like, it's so many things to go over to create a franchise lock that is like the most legit for the most people, because of course there will always be arguments of what's legit or not, but come on. The problem with Graveler that, yes, rock resists fire, but not ground. I think a lot of people mistake that. I did in the past at least, so many people are surprised by how damaging fire moves can be to rock types. And that's from two things, and one is that only rock resists fire. Ground doesn't, so it's only a half, it's not 4 times resisted. And then the second thing is that most rock types, especially the Gen 1 ones, are extremely defensively bulky, but Gen 1 for free, and even after that, so are all or most fire moves are special moves, and their special set is usually weak, which makes it so that you can actually hurt rock ground types quite badly with fire moves. Which is also a thing Meeple uses in his franchise lock, that he claims that you can just save and reset encounters because it's technically not on the same save file. And that's like, no, that's completely cheating. If any Nuzlocke community allows resetting encounters because it's technically not part of the true save, because you saved and then resetted the encounter, that's bullshit. Any form of saving and resetting encounters, no matter if it is to get a certain Pokemon or get certain abilities or natures, it's cheating. You play with what you get. And the same goes for starter. And that's also a thing that I do not agree with Meatball in how he did. Oh, this is a wild one. And it's 4 times resisted. But it is that he resetted his Charmander starter in order to get a good physically hitting nature, in order to have the best what do you say, Metal Claw possible against Brock's Onyx and Geodude. And I'm like, no, that's cheating. Like, you get a Charmander and you go with that Charmander you got. If you do a true franchise lock, you go with what you get when it comes to the starters and other Pokemon while you're playing. Like, you can't go for perfect natures, perfect IVs and stuff like that. You can go for EVs in this way he does. Like, if you're willing to grind level 2 Pidgeys to get as much stat points as possible in Gen 1 and 2, go for it. No one's stopping you. It's not limited encounters and stuff like that. Sure, it gives you an advantage, but yeah. But you're not allowed to reset for natures and abilities in Gen 3 and onward. Hell no. Never. If you get a attack lowering Hitmonchan, tough luck. Sweet Scent, no. Never used that. I'm the typical kid that was like, status moves? No. Oh, come on. But of course then you would still have to discuss level limits, how split evolutions are to be handled. At least split evolutions that need some degree of leveling up battling. Like Eevee, most of the time you can just use a rare candy, so you can go with a route that, yeah, I never used the Eevee itself. I just used the evolutions, so they are limited. But how do you do, say, Rolls and Curlia for a Gallade? Like, I'm not sure, like, my memory at the moment is not clear if Curlia is ever available evolved. And therefore it becomes hard to say which Pokemon do I use, do I have? Oh yeah, but enough about that rant. I said I'm very, in Swedish we call it paragrafryttare, or I guess maybe square or something like that in English, that if there is a rule, you follow that rule or that definition. You do not like call, as I said in this case, you don't call anything a Nuzlocke and completely ignore the 2 basic rules of it. Similar to, I feel, me who play a lot of World of Warcraft, that I think before hardcore became a thing, in WoW. I think Cargos, who started it, or was the like main starter, like the biggest starter of it, I think he called it Iron Man hard mode or something of the like. And for me it's like, no. Because Iron Man, yeah, it can have different rules between different genres, different games, but Iron Man within World of Warcraft did already exist and had the rule set that you do not use any items that are above white rarity or common rarity. And for anyone that knows WoW, knows that white and grey items, which are the two lowest tiers of items, can never have stats. So it was a limitation to make your character weaker in retail WoW, because player characters had become so strong by that point. But then, because only using white and grey items and no stats in Classic is like extremely difficult to not have any stats at all. He made it so that, okay, I'm allowed to use any item at all as long as it's SSF, solo self-found, that I can only use items I find myself. I can't buy, like, if I'm lucky and find a green or blue item of random mobs, I can use them, but I'm not allowed to send over money to go to the auction house and buy items. And then it's the like one life rule, which is the same in Iron Man. But like then a lot of people were like, no, you can't call it an Iron Man then. And I'm of the same camp. Like, Iron Man in World of Warcraft already had a rule set, so even if it's classic versus retail, you need to follow that rule set. You can't change the item rule to be that, what do you say, not limited, just because it would make it way, way, way too hard in Classic. Yeah, this is the Rock Slide tutor. I do not want to use that. I have plans to catch a Pokemon I want Rock Slide on later on. And I have done that mistake before, to teach Pokemon that necessarily don't need Rock Slide, and other Pokemon that need a Rock move don't have it. So, but yeah, so I'm of that camp. If you do it, call it Iron Man, then you need to follow those rules, and that's why it was changed into hardcore, because it was its own rules. And then, but then hardcore WoW is hardcore WoW. Like, I'm of the same camp then, that the rules of limited dungeons, so that it has to be solo self-found. In my opinion, Blizzard did it wrong to not force solo self-found immediately and not follow the hardcore community's rules about it. Then call it something else. Hard mode, difficult mode, whatever. Hardcore is hardcore then. It doesn't matter if other games have hardcore modes where the only rule is like the death penalty, and then they call it hardcore solo self-found in that game. If you do the solo self-found, no. In WoW, solo self-found was a base rule of hardcore, and therefore you need to have that for it to be hardcore. So as I said, I'm that like within the box square when it comes to rules, etc. That if there is a set amount of rules, you can slightly edit them, as long as you call it something different, like a wedlock, like that you say you have a species clause, but you can't just completely remove the rule. Whatever you do can't completely remove the rule for it to still count. But we'll have to see. Come on. Is there something up here? Yes, there is an item, and there's a encounter as well. Max Ever, nice. As I said, I'm not the one, like sometimes I use it, like I will use it in the Rayquaza tower, you can say, because otherwise Pokemon encounters can ruin your way up to Rayquaza. But most other scenarios I will not be using repels. Might maybe on the Hoe and Water routes because they are so big and there's no safe place. Like for me, this is a limited area. It's a cave. After the cave, we're back to grass routes where I can avoid Pokemon if needed. And Slowpoke is way more bulkier than I thought. And now I'm fatigued, no? Yeah, I am. Pokemon. Viridian, come to my rescue. Nice. Slightly risky. It could have gone for, what do you say, confusion, which would hurt Viridian as well. Alright, I need to look up Erika's level. I completely forgot that I was thinking of like looking up all games levels, so I can over time hopefully forget the exact Pokemon. But still have a guide to look at levels to try and limit myself level wise. Because otherwise, like, looking up some certain Pokemon can give me a lead on what is... Because I see the entire team, so it can become me seeing that this is the start Pokemon. This is the first Pokemon they will send out. So... I know to not send in certain Pokemon into fights. Which is slightly cheating, I feel. Not least in this version of me playing games. So I kinda don't wanna look it up, and therefore I wanna look it up, but then limit my own usage of that info to just see the levels, nothing else. So I need to do that after this recording, or I could technically during the recording, because I do have YouTube on in the background. Wing attack! Yeah, it's one of my favorite moves for some reason. 60 power, 100 accuracy, 40, 40 sand attack, 35. I'll remove tackle for the time being. I know I don't really need two flying type moves, like I will usually not be that limited. In moves, like you go that far between fights. 29. Ah shit, I'm technically past level then on Viridian. Okay, then I need to be slightly careful of what I'm doing. Because Charmeleon levels very quickly. As I said, it's not, in this playthrough, it's not 100% rule. Like, I'm not completely banned from using Viridian. But I should try and limit the usage, and the same goes for all other Pokemon, and that makes it a bit difficult because especially Crow and Char needs to be saved for the gym. But Crow is high level already, and Char is a traded Pokemon, so he levels up very quickly. But I have a secret plan, but we'll see how that goes. So we'll see what this just I think most trainers are avoidable on the route after this. I do not remember if there is any item in this area or not. Otherwise, these type of like deep dents is usually an item, but I don't think it is, and I'm not sure. We're at 43 minutes. I don't think there's anything here, everybody. And we're almost out of the route. But there are 2 trainers here, and then I think there's 1. Or are you a trainer? I think you are. So we'll at least heal so I can use some other Pokemon. Rocket Talk. Cubone's mother killed. The darkness of the early games. And then... because now I should be able to... I can use Char for a little bit. So I don't forget these trainer up here. Ah, man. Ember. But yeah, I feel like... it already knows Bone Club at this level. It's a 2-hit knockout, so I will be safe from this one, but... that is annoying. And then it's a Slowpoke, of course. I guess Nidoking. I might be swapping into a Water Gun. Yeah. Why did you just tackle when you knew it was Nidoking? Oh, but yeah, because I feel Charmander is technically in a franchise lock better to use in Gen 1 than Gen 3. But because these are two hikers. My next Pokemon do not do well against hikers, so I might as well use some other Pokemon. And I forgot the Char was in the front, but that doesn't really matter against the Picnicker. I want Nido against it though. It's not even half. Ah, come on. I said I didn't want to use Viridian, or at least as... come on. The absolute worst one. Like, this is the best drag out, of course, but holy, the XP will be shared across 4 different Pokemon. Whew. Double kick. Get it out of here. Ah, double crit. I was about to say, like, is it enough if it's not a crit? Like, was that 2/3 or more? Double kick. Come on. Ah, it's a grid. Double kick. Man, they're starting to have some strong Pokémon. Especially with ground type moves. So, that's it for the rock tunnel. We're done. We're down in Lavender Town. I don't need to or want to go into the tower. He's the name rater that can change names if needed. She's the one that is watching the Cubone baby. They are the ones hinting towards you needing to go get Mr. Fuji. And you're the creepy... If I say no, that I guess not, that's white hand on your shoulder, blah blah blah, yeah. Goes up here in the Pokemon Tower. Let's see. You're not 100% a must battle, but close to it. Like, it will be hard to run back and forth to Lavender Town without having to fight you. So, need to go in there. I am actually gonna Lavender Town and then Route 8. In FireRed Leaf Green. I feel like it needs to be Gamer Rich that is here. Okay, see, it's not that good. Because sometimes the gamers are good to fight against. But not really this time. Are you standing still all the time? Nerd. Yeah. Because I think if I forget, I might accidentally run into Gamer, but otherwise I should be free. Because the picnic, or last, she turns back and forth, I would at some point accidentally run into her. The Gamer I can probably avoid. So, that will be it for the episode. We're almost at an hour, if we have not gone past already. And the next part will be a grind. So for that, I thank you for watching this time. And if you can guess what Pokemon I'm getting, it is a common Pokemon. You can do so, but I'm pretty sure I will surprise you that it will be far harder than you imagine to get it. So see you next time.